Welcome back to the Have Not Room. I am Ben here with Brian to talk about week 4 of PB 28. And we're here on a Wednesday night, which is not standard for us. But it was going to be difficult, I think, for us to make it work at our normal time after the eviction. So we're coming here a little early, which is fun because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow still, even with the blockbuster. Yeah, we got some fun stuff to talk about here. It's been a quieter week. We have our Haley HOH, and we just watched the Vito episode. Brian, what are your kind of initial feelings on this week so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this week is a good example of. I'm going to use a survivor comparison here. A tribe, an alliance that doesn't go to tribal council very much, just looking to blindside their alliance just because they're bored. That really feels like what's going on here. Maybe I'm wrong. Obviously, you're more tuned in to the feeds than I am, but it feels like this was kind of an unforced error on the red corner's part when Drew was not going to come for them. And we'll see if it pays off because, I mean, maybe Drew will go and they'll be fine. But I think it was a good week for the vets because it really put those other three red corner people more on an island. And if the power ever does get won by the other side, they're probably going to be the people who get a shot taken at them.
Yeah, this is interesting because the show edit is kind of doing like a very weird thing with Drew and kind of this whole storyline. I think mostly to try to protect the vets by like not making them look foolish. Um, and they've kind of been doing this for the last few weeks, ever since like Angela's paranoia and Angela and Dee talking about their paranoia about Drew it started coming up. And they've like somewhat sort of like played with bits and pieces of reality to like frame the situation in a way that's I would say at the very least misleading
Yeah.
because we have the structure, right? The tool shed structure, which they put the tool shed, image on the screen at least like 4 times an episode now, so everyone should know who's in the tool shed. Within that, we have these two sub alliances: the Red Corner, which is Haley Chakamu plus Dean Devons, and also sort of plus Angela now as like an unofficial sixth. She's been like officially appraised of it, even though she knew about it the entire time. But like Haley told her about it last week, and now everyone in that five knows that Angela knows about it, and they're treating it like a six-person alliance. But then there's also the Crossovers Alliance, which is the Icons plus Drew and Barrett. Um, and a lot of the like framing around trying to make it feel like Angela and Dee are correct, and Devon's at this point now are correct to distrust Drew, is them showing examples of Drew making plays to hurt Haley, Chuck, and Kamu. But in Drew's mind, that's not him being, distrustful to the alliance, because in his mind, the alliance, the real alliance, is the crossovers. It's him, Barrett, plus the
Right.
icons. And to this point, Drew has still not done anything against that crossovers alliance of any merit at all. And so, like, the edit's kind of playing this like weird game where it's like, oh, the icons are right to distrust Drew because he's going against the tool shed, when in reality he's just going against Haley, Chuck, and Combo and is protecting the icons.
Right.
So yeah, it's interesting. I don't know why they're doing this, especially it's going to be really messy in tomorrow's episode probably, with like kind of cleaning up how this works, as we'll talk about what's going on now. But yeah, it's you know as far as like steamrolls go, it's been still somewhat interesting. Um, at least so far, partially as you said, because the alliance is like kind of chomping at the bit to turn on itself.
Right. Yeah, no, it's definitely a interesting situation where the edit seems to be so at odds with what you're seeing on the field. Not unheard of, obviously. This has happened plenty of times in the history of our coverage of the show, let alone the history of ever. But yeah, it feels like, I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see what happens, but it definitely feels like this is a moment where we're going to potentially see a mistake being made. Is it going to be a game-ending mistake for Haley? Probably not, but we'll see.
Well, I actually don't think that targeting Drew is terrible for Haley. Haley is one of the like people in the tool shed that like Drew is the least connected to, right? Like he had a one-on-one relationship with Kamu that we saw, the handyman like final two that we saw. I think they only showed this on Unlocked, the Unlocked episode 2 weeks ago, but they did show that in the episodes. Up until this week, Drew and Kamu had a really solid kind of relationship. We talked about this, I think, on the podcast maybe last week, of like at what point does this stop being, at least, somewhat real? And the answer is this week, because Kamu has like just completely dropped Drew, and a part of it is because so many people individually came to Kamu and was like, "Hey, Drew is sketchy. He's like disloyal to the tool shed," without really giving any examples because there weren't any, and just like kind of just going off vibes. And after like 4 or 5 people in the tool shed came to Kamu and were like, "Hey, Drew is sketchy," he was like, "Okay, I guess Drew is sketchy then. Maybe I'm just like not seeing it." So yeah, from Haley's perspective, like as far as people in the tool shed to turn on Drew, I think it makes the most sense for Haley. It's not a terrible move. I think the way she's handled it has been pretty bad, as
Right.
has been the case with her across the board. Is like her like moves on paper have been passable, but like the way that she's handled it has made it terrible.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. One thing I did want to ask about is Haley coming off as badly as she seems to be from the edited show? Like how is the vibe in that HOH room? Because I can't imagine it's that great.
So yeah, this is something I've seen a lot of people like who are like episode only watchers online talk about. Like, is Haley this bad on the feeds? And I can confidently say she's worse in the feeds. Like they are
Okay,
definitely toning her
that's
down.
crazy.
Yeah, this is a favorable edit, I would say to Haley.
That's so crazy to me.
Yeah.
But
Um,
you
yeah, I
know,
mean the like they're kind of like cherry picking specific kind of instances. But this like kind of line, as one example, right? This line that like Melody and Mallory end up making fun of like I've had a really rough 4 weeks. Like this is not like a one-off thing that Haley says to them that they like, or like says in general. This is something that Haley has said like at least like 20 or 30 times this week alone. Um,
right.
this is like she just kind of has these lines of I'm trying to figure out a way to describe how she operates to people, if to somebody who wouldn't be watching her. Like she has like an air of superiority to her while also playing the victim constantly. It's very off-putting.
Right.
And it's like it's just like a really unpleasant mix. And I think that like, say what you want about Rome, but I think Rome hit the nail on the head during the nomination ceremony fight by calling her just simply unbearable as a person or as a human being. I think that's pretty accurate from what we've seen from her.
Yeah, and I mean, it wasn't very popular for him to say in the moment, but I think a lot of people have come around to his thinking on Haley, or
Yeah.
Thog, as the internet has been calling her.
I think the biggest people, I think the main thing that people were on him for was like him kind of like getting in her face and then calling her a snarky bitch. I think those were the main two things. I think even at the time, people were agreeing with him when he said that she was unbearable as a human being. I think that part of it was actually fine. It was like it's a brutal thing to say about somebody, but it's like I would say pretty accurate.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I get it. It looks bad, but also maybe she is. Yeah, who am I to say? You know?
I'll say it. I watch the feeds a lot, and she's unbearable. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think terrible. How are Melody and Drew handling this week, Ben?
Um, Not great. We can
Yeah.
see a little bit of it in the episode, in particular with Drew. Like they're like kind of burying Drew, and like he does, I would say, deserve it to a degree. I think that like the amount that he's put himself in this position is a little overstated. He's done, I think, not a ton to super deserve to be in the position that he was in at the start of the week, but it is, his prerogative to like realize that he's in this position and do something about it to like get out of it. And as you see in the diary room and then throughout the week, even like after the end of the events of this episode, the last couple of days, he's stayed relatively um naive to the fact that he has been the target the entire time. And this is actually another point of where the episode, or the two episodes, the Sunday and the Wednesday episodes, have been a little bit misleading. Where the conversation that we saw on this episode, where they decide that Drew was the target, I believe happened before the nominations. Drew was basically decided as being the target very early on. It was originally floated that Haley would use him as a pawn for real, and then Devins was like, "Hey, maybe he should be the target instead if you're going to put him up. That's kind of dumb to put your ally in the block as a pawn and then not like actually take the shot on him. Like it's we'll see how that goes. But yeah, this was never a situation where like he was ever really the pawn, and then like they were like, hey, he's up there now, maybe he should be the target. No, he was the target the whole time. And yeah, him not seeing it has been bad. And then from Melody's perspective, she's just been incredibly passive and like really like I think just emotionally burnt out from playing the game, which is understandable. Like I get from her perspective, she doesn't like the people in power. Like I think the people in power have been unlikable and have treated her very poorly. So like from that point, it is from an emotional perspective understandable, but like obviously strategically not great that she has not put the work in to save herself when there are legitimate arguments she could be using to save herself. And I think that the icons would be willing to hear those arguments out. You're muted.
One of the big questions I have when I'm watching the show is, does the other side of the house see itself as the other side of the house? Or they just kind of see themselves as just like their own individual players with maybe a couple of alliances thrown in there? Because there's a lot of talk like, oh, the other side of the house, but I don't get the feeling that they're like a cohesive unit.
Yeah, no, they never have been. Even when like week two, when this narrative was like Rome is the ringleader of the other side of the house, like he was probably the closest. Like I'd say Jason was probably closer to being a ringleader than Rome, but like Jason was messy. Rome was like I'd say maybe like a somewhat of a ringleader, but like yeah, right now and like even historically, that side has never been like a single cohesive alliance. They've just been kind of like a collection of individual relationships. Like Lala is pretty much only connected to Taylor. She has her own relationship with Angela, and then obviously the two of them have this like honor society thing with Dee and Angela, which is not real. Taylor is otherwise only really connected to Yash, her, Barrett, and Lyric. Made like a very brief thing called the Nursery, based off of the fact that in the HOH competition, like the six rooms one they just did, all three of them got eliminated in the second to last round by going to the Nursery. That hasn't really gone anywhere. I mean, Barrett and Taylor have a decent working relationship, but Barrett is not on that side. Like he's still with the icons for right now, even though he like kind of like still plays both sides. Yash kind of is a little bit of everywhere. Him and Lyric made a final two earlier in the week, but that's basically like on the brink of falling apart already. Yash has kind of decent connections in a lot of different places, but he's not really like solidified anywhere. Obviously, you have the three littles, but we see at the end of this Wednesday episode the start of them kind of like splintering off because we have Lyric going to Haley, throwing Mallory under the bus, and Haley being like, "Why are you doing that? That's kind of messed up to throw your friend under the bus. I'm still going to nominate you as well." And then this information gets back to Mallory. Lyric has to have like a multiple. I was gonna say a conversation with Mallory. He has about 5 or 6 of the same conversation with Mallory in the last couple of days, where she basically is framing it like Haley like extorted this information out of her, and like was trying to play Lyric and Mallory against each other, to try to like save face a little bit. Mallory, I think, kind of believes it. Melody doesn't. Melody completely distrusts Lyric at this point, and obviously, with her, Drew, and Lyric on the block, of the three of them, Melody is going to want Lyric to leave. So that, I think, plays a part in why Melody and Lyric's relationship is, deteriorated. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, it's a mess. They're not a cohesive alliance at all.
Yeah. So we got a little bit of this in the episode, but how is Barrett handling the sacrifice of Drew here?
I mean, he is handling it. So this is kind of the tricky thing with Barrett, right? A lot of people are frustrated with Barrett, and I understand why. He is basically doing nothing other than just like being a tag along vote for the vets, in particular D. He is just kind of being told what to do and then just like pitifully doing it. You can tell throughout the week that he was not happy. One, that Drew was being targeted, and two, that he was the last one to find out in the alliance other than Drew. It's definitely just reinforcing to him that like he's at the bottom of this group. It's definitely reinforcing to him that he needs to win HOH and go after Haley, Chuck, and Kamo, which he plans to do. But he doesn't do anything about it, right? Like he just kind of like silently takes it and like allows Drew to get played. He lies to Drew's face throughout the week many times, as we saw in the episode, one of the examples. So yeah, you can tell that it's he's struggling with it from like an emotional perspective, but he is still like lying to Drew. And now, as we'll talk about, like the vote is flipping off of Drew as of today, or as of yesterday, sort of, but mostly today. And you could like visibly see Barrett being very excited that the vote is coming off of Drew. So the thing that basically is being used as like a fake reason as to why the Icons and Barrett are upset with the Drew from this week is in one of the original conversations he has with Haley about like being a pawn. She is like really cagey about it, and she's like, I really want to use a pawn from our alliance. I don't want to put up 3 women. I promise safety to Yash. So there's no other men on that side of the house. I would have to put up a man on our side. I want somebody who's going to go in there and be strong in the blockbuster. And this is all just made up fluff to like create an excuse as to why Drew's going on the block. And Drew is basically like, I haven't won anything. Why would I be the strong person to be the pawn on the block to like go fight in the blockbuster for you? Why would you not like use one of Devon's or Chuck or Kamu? And then they also like talk through the options of like Barrett and D as well. Like Drew basically like cycles through every person in the alliance except for Angela and is like, how is your logic stable in so that you would choose me over this person? Like it's not really logically consistent with what you're telling me. And Haley like obviously deflects, and then Haley goes and runs to all of these people and is like, hey, Drew came to me and was like, you should put up all these people as a pawn. He ran through all of your names. So just like kind of a twisting of the truth there. And that's like one of the reasons why people like Bear and Devons are super sketched out from him.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like Barrett was kind of like, well, I might be the renom. That would suck. But then he wasn't the renom because, Drew didn't win it. And he's just kind of like, oh, that's cool. He's like, maybe think ahead, man. Maybe get after it and get your, I guess your footing in this game is quickly failing. Like, I don't see what Barrett's game is personally. I know, you defend it a little, but I don't know, man. I'm disappointed just because he is such a big fan. He has or had a YouTube channel that he talked about reality TV. Like, I wasn't on last week, so I didn't get a chance to like talk about this, but like, this is for anybody who wants to play these games. Go into it like this is the only time you'll ever get to play, the only time you're ever going to be in the Big Brother house, the only time you're ever going to be on an island in Fiji, the only time you're ever going to, I don't know, Ben, what's another weird reality show people
Race
play
around
these
the world,
days?
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
Race
race around the
back.
world. Treat it like it's your one and only shot. And if you go out early because of that, I feel like that's easier to live with than going out mid game but not ever truly having a chance to win,
Yeah, it's rough. I get both the criticism of Barrett and why he's doing what he's doing. It's like because like preseason, right? I see the cast. I kind of like go through them all before the show even fully starts. We know who the rumored returning players are. It's like pretty clear to me that D is just gonna run circles around the cast and like probably stomp to the end, which is seeming
Right.
like
Which is why you made her your winner pick.
yeah, which is yeah, why I made her my winner pick. Why it's what we're seeing happen in the game right now. Like it's a good prediction, I would say at this point.
Right.
So I looked at Bear and I was like, if I'm in his spot, if I have like if I like mind meld myself into his brain going into this situation, the correct play I think is to just attach yourself to D, ride it out to the end as if you're like some kind of loyal soldier to her, and then cut her at the final three, Stephen Vanessa her. That is what I elucidated as the like most cogent strategy for specifically Barrett before like they even had stepped fully into the house, and it seems like that's what he's doing. Like, so I can't be mad that he's just doing the thing that I said that he should do before the season even started,
Right.
because like I think it's just right, but like it's so boring and it's really frustrating to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a good point. Maybe he'll be able to be Steve. We're big Steve fans here. I feel like Steve doesn't get talked about much anymore, except for last season when Ashley did pull a Steve. So, as much as we can, talk him up, I guess.
Yeah, it's I mean like Ashley was compared to Steve. I think there are differences in like how that
Yes. Yeah.
fundamentally played out, but I think the issue that Barrett is going to run into with like this strategy is he has to find somebody who's actually likely to be in that end game that he can beat in the jury vote.
Right.
Because like Steve had Liz Nolan as somebody that he could beat in a jury vote, and she only got Vanessa's jury vote because she was scorned by him seconds previously, and she got her showmance, and she got her twin sister, and those were her only three jury votes. Steve cleaned up the rest. There is not really like an obvious like jury goat that I think is going to be in the end game. Maybe like a Lala. That's probably like the most likely person who's gonna like end up getting dragged super deep into the game as a potential goat or somebody that they can just like perpetually pawn. That's like that might be his best out, something like that. Haley obviously on the table as well, but I think people, even though they don't like Haley, depending on the jury composition, they might respect Haley more than Barrett, given the game that he's ultimately playing. So yeah, that's I think going to be his biggest struggle right now is to actually find somebody he can beat in a final two if he is planning on going to the final three with D and then cutting her.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. All right, Ben, we've talked about it a little bit. What is happening in the house right now? If you are somebody who found this podcast for the first time today and you're a show only watcher, we will see you next week because we're going to get into spoilers. Ben, is Drew going to be saved, or is Drew cooked?
Um, Undecided right now.
Okay.
He is more safe than he was 2 days ago. I will say that. So as of Tuesday morning, the plan was Drew would be evicted in all cases if he loses, and then if he wins the blockbuster, Melody would be evicted over Lyric. Tuesday night ish, or I guess last night ish, uh, maybe yesterday afternoon ish. D, and to a lesser degree Devons, but this is primarily being driven by D, had this realization that Drew is still blindly loyal to the crossovers, which is correct. He is blindly loyal to the crossover still, despite all of this. He thinks that he is safe. He talks in the diary room, as we saw, that he thinks he's 90% safe, when at that point he is 90% not safe. And a big thing is because he blindly trusts Devons, he blindly trusts Barrett, he trusts Dee and Angela enough. And we had seen some comparisons to a similar situation in BB16 where Zach is on the block early, and Derek and Cody, the hitmen, who are basically the ones who control the entire season, Derek mostly decides relatively last minute to save Zach because he realizes that Zach is a number for him, even if Zach is like kind of wild and unpredictable and sketchy. And he blows up the Rationale Alliance at the time, which is Derek, Cody, Nicole, and Hayden, burns Nicole and Hayden, and basically sets them up to be like completely dead in the game until their eventual evictions. And yeah, we're basically seeing D kind of come to the exact same realization here with Drew as the Zach Rance stand-in, and Haley, Chuck, and Kamu as like the Nicole and Hayden kind of stand-ins. And D pitches this to Devons. Devons is kind of on the fence. They eventually go and pitch it to Angela. Angela seems somewhat on board. The argument basically being like Drew's game is exposed. Nobody in the house trusts Drew anymore, which is true. Yash doesn't trust Drew. Taylor and Lala don't trust Drew. Lyric does not trust Drew. Pretty much the only people on the other side of the house who trust Drew at all at this point are Melody and Mallory. That's all he has right now is just Melody and Mallory. So that's actually a good read. And this is, I think, a correct decision from them. I think that keeping Drew in the game gives them numbers for the foreseeable future. We talked throughout the last 2 or 3 weeks about how setting up Drew in this way and being super paranoid about him and like trying to take him out this early is going to like be the downfall of the crossovers and really kind of sewer the position that the icons had set up for themselves. And I think making the decision now to try to save him is just it's a good move. I think Dee is just spot on here. She's done some good work. She now, at the very least, in the case of Lyric winning the blockbuster, has moved the votes onto Melody over Drew. So as it stands right now, it's still in flux, but right now, if the blockbuster would happen right at this second, if Melody loses the blockbuster, she will go home. If Melody wins the blockbuster, Drew will still go home. That is where it currently stands. But Dee is not done. She is not happy with Lyric. She wants Lyric out. Kamu, Chuck, and to a lesser degree Haley, but mostly Kamu and Chuck, are still defensive of Lyric and want her to stay. So there's still moving pieces here. I think Dee is going to probably try to take another shot at pushing the target onto Lyric. But as of right now, Melody is the most likely person to go home tomorrow night.
All right. So, I mean, unfortunately, it didn't work out for Melody. I thought she was somebody who potentially could be a fun and active player, just get on the wrong side of the Giant Alliance. And I don't think she particularly did anything horrible, but she also didn't do anything great, you know?
Yeah, I think that the big thing that burned Melody's like kind of social capital, if she had any early, was her distancing herself from Mallory from Pipe Queen week 1 before Mallory wins that veto. This was something that was not super well hidden. Everyone in the house kind of noticed that she was kind of removing herself from Mallory to not be associated with her, and a lot of people found that sketchy. Similar to how Lyric comes up to Haley and throws Mallory under the bus, and just like gives Haley a ton of information about Mallory to try to like get her nominated instead. A
Poor
lot of people are
Mallory.
now, yeah, a lot of people are now like, wow, Lyric is really suspicious and like kind of sketchy for doing that. And it's like kind of the same thing where like if you know, if you're a little too eager to throw your friends under the bus to save yourself to the big alliance is going to look at you a little kind of like sideways in a lot of cases. You know, it's kind of hit or miss, right? Some people will be like, yes, thank you for feeding your friends to the wolves for us. Come join us at the table. But there other people will look at that and be like, wow, if you're gonna like throw your friend under the bus at like the smallest sign of danger, what are you going to do to me, who you have zero relationship with?
Yeah. And Kamu's down. Haley's not as down. How much do you think what Angela said is accurate, Ben? I think Angela clocked Haley pretty hard, but
Um, well, I mean, Haley said this is not, personal. She doesn't make personal decisions. That's why, she put up Taylor for looking at her wrong and for complaining about sugar-free snacks and for,
yeah, how dare she?
being one of 17 people to laugh at the teeth pot.
I know that was a great clip where it showed everyone laughing, but
Yeah.
apparently
Um,
it's just Taylor, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, this is another reason that like a lot of people, and one of the like many like checks on the like list of Haley being obnoxious is just like constantly talking about how none of her decisions are personal, while like very openly making personal decisions.
Yeah, that's never a popular trait from a reality TV player. I think it's great in terms of entertainment. I love a hypocrite. And Haley is a huge hypocrite, and it's great.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, she's you know, she has a lot of tattoos, not a lot of self awareness.
Yeah, it's crazy. She's in a wellness clinic, and she's supposed to be like so helpful, right? But no, not really.
Yeah, whatever.
Listen, if I was trying to get some peptides, I don't know. I'd go to Haley.
You wouldn't get at her like a MLM peptide situation.
Yeah, I guess I'd have to see the results, of course. But
Hmm.
if I'm going to be taking sketchy at best peptides, I want someone I vibe with.
Yep. Yeah. 100%. I mean, if she's selling them to you, just know it's not a personal thing.
That's true. That's true.
Early business.
Oh man. Well, anything else on this week that you want to talk about? Obviously, we don't know who's going home officially yet, and stuff can still change all the way up to tomorrow. But yeah,
Yeah. I
anything
mean, like
else?
even if it was locked, right, we still wouldn't know 100% who goes home because of the blockbuster.
Yeah.
But yeah, right now it's not looking great for Melody. There is like still the outside chance Lyric goes. I'm very curious to see what happens with this time capsule power because now that all three vets have had it, it's like kind of now open season. I think Melody, with the edit that she's gotten over the last two episodes, would be a contender to get it, as was Jason last week. We can see maybe like a little bit of an issue with the structure of how this voting works, where like the person who is
Yep.
going to be most likely to get it is the person who is most likely to go home on the Thursday night
Yeah.
episode. So a lot of people are just throwing away their votes into the void.
Yeah. Ben, guess who I voted for last week?
Yeah, I assume you voted for Jason last week, and I
Yeah.
assume if you voted this week, you're probably voting for Melody.
Right.
So
Right. Maybe I should do Mallory.
yeah,
That could be something.
Mallory is seeming like a popular backup option.
Yeah.
I think after this episode, Taylor had a really good episode with the veto comp. Really fun veto
Yes.
comp. Really fun
Yeah.
to have Morgan back. So I think right now, I would say Mallory is probably the most likely to get the time capsule on Friday, and then we're all gonna hope that she gets the coin of destiny or at least some kind of power, and then she's probably gonna come out and have to eat 14 pounds of ham every week, or for the whole week or whatever.
Yeah, I remember when that was the first time I was like, "Damn, that's rough." And then it's like, Fessy is like Fessy's Muslim, so he can't even eat pork. So it's just like
Hmm.
tofu or something.
Yeah, it was like
I feel
soy
like
based.
that's
It's like a
rougher.
soy based ham. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I don't mind imitation ham. I've had it. You know,
Okay.
it's like I wouldn't eat it not in something.
Right. Yeah.
But
It's
no,
much better like a stir fry or something that you can have
yeah.
veggies
I
and
had like
stuff. Yeah.
Thai food and like a basil pad thai kind of thing. You
Yeah,
know,
that sounds good.
yeah. No, I hope that Mallory doesn't get that punishment because she like pretty clearly has some like food and exercise based issues.
Yeah.
So I don't want her to get a punishment that requires her to eat like a bunch of ham. That does not seem like it would be good for her mental health.
Yeah.
Uh, I think all the other punishments would be fun. Um, Obviously, I would like her to get a power. I would like her to get the coin of destiny, uh, if that's on the table. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see. It does seem like it wasn't too hard for Rick and Dee to get the powers, so maybe it'll be all powers from here on out.
Yeah, it is gameable. The thing is, I don't know who, if anybody will try to game it
Yeah.
because Devins did realize it was gameable and he gamed it, and then he told Dee that it was gameable and he told her how to game it, and then she clearly did.
Mhm.
So I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. We'll see. But yeah, I guess that's it, Ben. Where can they find you online?
You can find me Ben Sharon on Blue Sky. I don't post too often there, but you can find me there mostly here on the Have Not Room. I'm excited for a potential power shift headed into next week. Hopefully, we get a good outcome for the time capsule. Hopefully, I would like if the vote to flip on Lyric of the three options. I like both Drew and Melody. If I have to choose between the two of them, I would prefer Melody to stay because I think if Drew gets saved here and stays, he'll just fall right back in with the crossovers and
Right.
not actually do what he needs to do, which is to form a cogent other side. Whereas I think Melody would actually take a shot at the Red Corner trio at the very least. Which Drew also would do, but that's short term versus long term. So
Right.
I'm hopeful. I'm rooting for Melody to win the blockbuster, and then for Dee to successfully flip the vote in the Drew versus Lyric case to Lyric. And then I'm rooting for Melody and/or Mallory to get the power. Rooting for a good HOH outcome. They've been speculating that the HOH will be the wall. I don't know if I think that it's going to be the wall. The reason they're speculating that is because the backyard has been closed for much of the week, which indicates a large build for the HOH. I think it's probably more likely the balance beam comp. So we'll see. It could be the wall, it could be the balancing comp, it could be some other just physical comp that has a big build. I think also, I mean, maybe it's not the balancing comp. I think people have said that the balancing comp is in the warehouse, and not the backyard. So maybe it is the wall. I don't know. We'll see. But if it is the wall, I'll try to watch that. It should be fun.
Yeah, week 5. That's pretty early, right?
It
For the
is, yeah.
wall.
It is. It is. It would be tied for the earliest that they've done the wall.
Okay.
Usually it's around week 6 or 7.
Okay. Yeah, I remember it because it's usually like when preseason football happens.
Hmm.
So, yeah, no, I mean, can't wait for it. Next week's gonna be a little tough. We'll probably have to do a Wednesday show again, um, for a very special reason that I can't say. But if you follow, our social medias, you'll see. Thursday next week, be online. That's all I can say. I
Yep.
NDAs, all that.
Hmm.
All right. Well, other than that, thank you so much for your time, Ben. Thank you, everybody who's checked this episode out. Make sure you check out the main channel. We get everything. We cover video games in the form of video essays and video game reviews. Check out Those Fake Nerds for daily video game news. Check out our sports channel, Wicked Good Sports. Football season is almost here. Tomorrow, we get our first preseason game of the season, which is exciting for freaks like me who love football. And yeah, this is the Have Not Room on the Better Radio channel. Check out all of our podcasts there. Other than that, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.